So excuse the hat because it's cold in here and the topic might be a bit of a downer, but I feel like I have to say this. VidCon thing again, there was a thing where Franchesca Ramsey actually wanted to talk to the Warskis, like Andy Warski and stuff, after they've made all these responses and everything. And even if you're not really familiar with that, it's just basically the fact that someone who is an SJW who has been responded to many times and kind of ignored it, has finally reached out and spoken to someone on the other side of the whole debate or whatever who wanted to talk to them. And then some people were saying that it's a bad idea and that you shouldn't try talking to her because it's a bad idea and she's gonna do something. And then some people were saying that it's discourse, so it's good. So at the end of the day, there was some talking back and forth and she seemed to be nice to him and apparently things were going okay. And they even had just conversations after that and everything, and it was fine. And then suddenly she came out with an episode on a podcast called Last Name Basis. I think the episode was called Troll Hunter or something, and she basically made it out like she was just acting to them. Like she wasn't actually wanting to talk about any discourse whatsoever. It was just like, I'm gonna pretend to like you and then talk behind your back, and it was a really scummy thing to do. And then Andy Warski published a video talking about the Franny saga and responding to it and everything. And something that made me want to talk about it is he seemed very apologetic throughout it, and then he said that the people who were telling him not to do it were right and he shouldn't have, and he just sounded like broken and hurt, and honestly I can't blame him, but there's something that I have to say about that. So I've moved around a lot. I've been to a lot of different towns, a lot of different schools. I think I've been to about 8 schools in total when I was still in school. So it was basically moving like every 1 or 2 years just to a new place. Like my parents had to go to work at different places and things, so it wasn't really anyone's fault that was happening, but it's just something you have to deal with. Now because of the fact that I had to keep moving and meeting new people, getting into a new school, making new friends over and over and over again, I met a lot of people. And as you know, when you have a lot of people, there'll be that section that are just bad people. Same thing with the internet. You have a small bunch of people, it's fine, and then as soon as you get a larger group of people, there's some negative people that come in. So I've seen a lot of people that kind of act like her, and I want to explain from my experience what those people are. So these people, in my view, are basically a mix between a kind of type of people pleaser and then just someone who has this like complex where they want to be in charge of everything and manipulate everything. So the first half of that is they'll be nice to your face. No matter who you are, they'll always be nice to your face, and they will always try and make it like they want to be friends with you. Even if you guys aren't getting along, they'll still try and push for that. They'll still try and be super nice and act like they're on board with everything with you. And part of that is because they want everyone to have a good opinion of them. They want to have this kind of reputation of that, and you're not really like a friend to them. It's more just like a notch on their belt kind of thing where they want to cross off the list, like there's another person who likes me now. I have all these people who like me kind of thing. It's like an ego thing. But then the other part of that is that they'll go and talk to people and talk shit about you basically. And part of that is because they want to just have this feeling where they're like, I'll be nice to them and then they'll like me, but then I don't really like them anyway, so I'm like manipulating them, and they'll have this kind of power trip over that. I mean, sometimes it's just that with like everyone, but usually they'll have a couple people who know what they're doing and find it entertaining. There is a difference between having these interactions in real life that doesn't really involve an audience or the internet, because obviously if you publish something, a lot of other people are going to see it. There's a different type of way that it goes if it's just people face to face. I mean, sometimes when that happens, that person might be well liked and no one would know what they're doing, so if you find out, they don't really care if you find out because no one would believe you. I guess at least they think no one would believe you if you tried to tell people what they were doing. So you do get those people, and some of it is just them being assholes, definitely, but I do believe that some of it is genuinely them having some sort of compulsive thing. Like how you get compulsive liars and stuff like that. I mean, that doesn't give them an excuse at all. I still think that there's a responsibility that you need to take with your own behavior. But that would kind of explain some of it. Sometimes they're really not aware of that and they have the urge to just go and do that. And with Franchesca, I was kind of toying with the idea that maybe she was simply doing that because she was coming around to the idea of discourse and that kind of thing. And then people on that SJW kind of side tried to pressure her, and then she felt like it was like she was being like blasphemous or something, you know, with like all of that strict sort of stuff there. And that she was committing a thought crime, so then she tried to make it up to them by just doing that. I mean, and that's still a bad thing, that's still annoying. That still doesn't really fix anything and doesn't make me look at her in a positive light. But the reason that I believe that it's the other type thing that I was just explaining about people who want to manipulate people is because throughout the podcast that she did where she was talking about this, she sounded like she was just really gleeful about doing it, and for someone that's being pressured, it just sounded awfully genuine, like she was really just having fun screwing around and not acting professionally and just undoing all of this work that people thought that she did. Like, she delighted in the idea of thinking that people were friends with her when in reality she hated them and she was messing with them. Especially at one point she mentions there was someone with like a speech impediment that was talking and asking her a question in the panel that she was doing, and she mocked them on the podcast. She was making fun of their stuttering, and she was making fun of the idea that they maybe didn't know how to use a microphone because it wasn't a thing that they usually did. I mean, I still have no idea what I'm doing. It took me ages to do that, and the only reason that I'm doing it is because I found that I like doing this sort of stuff, and I love film, and that kind of relates. I mean, if I wasn't doing that, I would have no idea about this stuff. I mean, I really love to draw, and if she doesn't, then she'll have no idea about the different types of pencils and the different types of paper and paint and all that sort of stuff. Does that mean I should make fun of her? Or does that mean that I should just be fine with the fact that she has a different interest to me? I don't get why she's making fun of someone for that. And she's also just making fun of someone with a speech impediment, which, according to her in other videos she does, is ableism. So with all of those things, you can see that she isn't really just, I think, doing that because of the SJW pressure. She's just genuinely doing that because she's that kind of person. Now, obviously I wasn't there, so everything that happened isn't something that I'm gonna completely, absolutely 100% go, yes, that's a fact. But just going off the stuff that we've heard about, and the way that she responded and whatnot, it does just really seem to me like one of those people that I've met who just wants to manipulate everybody. And the next thing that I really want to talk about here is the part where people are kind of going, yeah, those people who said we shouldn't have engaged in discourse with her are right. Here's the thing. I got to a point when I was moving around, since I started when I was really young, and it's just the fact of moving every like 2 years or so to a completely different place and saying goodbye to everyone and starting over again, you get to a point when you're a kid where you're really, really frustrated. You're super frustrated with everything, and you just don't like the idea of making a friend again just to leave them. There's no point. So you get, especially if you have depression and anxiety from it, and you probably would anyway, if that's just not something that your brain is okay with, you definitely would develop that anyway, even if you didn't before. You kind of start, if you don't know any better and you don't know how to control it really, you start to let it kind of take over your mind. And I reached a point when I was about in year 7 or something, where I just didn't bother anymore. I didn't bother making friends. I tried to be as, not attacking people, but as aggressive as possible if they tried to talk to me, and when that didn't work, and that just kind of made me feel bad, I ended up pretending to just be like an extra weird person. Like, I'm kind of weird now, but I tried to do things that people would find annoying. Like, I would repeat things a bunch of times. I basically created this type of thing where it was a shield kind of disguised in this I'm an annoying person, don't come near me kind of thing, so that people would stay away from me because I didn't want friends. And I knew that me moving, because it reached the point where we knew that we would move to a new town when we got there, so it was like, we're just staying here for a year, whatever. And so I didn't want to make friends because I knew that that would hurt them and that would hurt me when I moved away. And at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't support what I did. I think that I was just really confused kid. But doing that and not engaging, not talking to people, it does affect you negatively. I think that even if there's something in your mind where it's like, I don't think that there's a point in doing this, at the end of the day, I do think that you have more to lose and there's more negatives that happen if you don't engage, just even in real life. And taking that over to the internet, even though it is kind of different, like when Franchesca makes the podcast talking about it, everyone can see it, and when the person responds, everyone can see that. It's not the same, but there is a certain similarity with that. And I think one of the biggest similarities is that if you continuously, like, if you shut down, then you at the end have more to lose. And it's not just from a standpoint of talking to people and that kind of thing as well. It's also because we're talking about differing viewpoints here. I mean, with discourse and different viewpoints, we have SJWs who are a smaller group. They're like a small bunch of people that a majority of people seem to be gradually not liking. And since it's online and there's just eyes on everyone, when you try and reach out to someone and say, hey, I want to have discourse with you, and they respond in the way that Franchesca did, it might seem like a waste of time for you, but you have to remember, there are people here who have no idea what's going on. Today, this minute may be the first time that someone is finding a video that has sort of stuff in it that they don't know about before and they want to learn more about it. They don't even know what an SJW is and now they want to learn about it. There are people like that, and when they see a group of people who have certain viewpoints and they're trying to exchange ideas with another group of people who have certain viewpoints, and the one side is really respectfully just trying to engage and the other side is just backstabbing them and doing horrible things, the person who has no idea what's going on is going to see that and they're going to at least go, well, these people just look like horrible people, and these ones at least, even if I end up disagreeing with them, I want to see what they have to say, and I'm going to see that they are the professional ones, they are the mature ones. So there is something to gain from that. But even then, at the end of the day, the fact that you see good in people when you first meet them, and you want to talk to them, and no matter what, you still want to give them the benefit of the doubt, that's here. That's you being a good person, and you seeing the good in other people. This is where your kindness comes from. This is where you sticking up for people come from. You don't lose this. You can't lose this. If you lose this, that's how you end up being an extremist and just going around and hurting people because you believe that it's fine and you don't see the other side. You end up like that if you lose this. And if you look at people who were telling you that you should have ignored her and should have just shut your eyes and gone away to an echo chamber even, and gone away and not engaged at all, you're losing this. And you can't do that. And you shouldn't do that, because at the end of the day, yes, it may have been a big shit show, but that wasn't your fault. You might feel like you've made a mistake, but in reality, they were the ones who were being an asshole. Like, sure, maybe there would have been signs that you should have seen and you didn't see them. I'm sorry, did we call Captain Hindsight? You couldn't have known that if you were just trying to look at them and go, I'm going to give you a benefit of a doubt. I have no idea who you are personally because I've never met you before, and I hope to kind of change that so that we can talk and be friendly. Because I don't want there to be two sides, I want people to just talk together. Do you really think that that's a bad thing that you did? Because I don't. You know what I think's the bad thing? When someone sees that and they just decide to be an asshole instead and fuck with you. So you might think that you made the mistake, but that person who was really nasty to you and just fucked with you for no reason, I think they're the ones who made the mistake. Because they're the ones who are just being a terrible person and losing what they have that makes them human. So what I'm saying with this is just don't let this knock you down when it comes to trying to reach out to people. Because that's still a good thing. You're still in the right, you're still helping people, you're still listening to that bit of you that makes you a good person. And don't blame yourself, don't beat yourself up if some of it comes away with this person manipulating you and you feeling like an idiot, because at least you tried. At least you have the patience and you're willing to talk to people. It makes them look bad. They're the ones who will not get anything from that besides their own sick satisfaction. At the end of the day, if people have only just discovered who Andy Warski is and only just discovered who Franchesca Ramsey is, they're probably gonna go and talk to Andy instead, because at least he shows that he's trying to be a good person, he's trying to be honest, he's doing it to the best of his human ability. Franchesca Ramsey is just gonna fuck with you and you don't know what to say to her because you don't know what she's gonna turn around and hurt you with. And again, I'm just saying this because I have experience with that. I have experience with a whole bunch of people, good and bad. Especially with the smaller towns that I moved to. I've had so many weird experiences with weird people. I could probably be a storytime YouTuber without the clickbait. That's how weird it is. But I'm not going to do that because I'm not cancer. So really that's what it is. I know it's a really sappy message of follow your heart and all that sort of stuff, but at the end of the day, sometimes things are cliche and overused because there's a bit of truth in that. Imagine what a bitter person that would turn you into if you just let all of that stuff get to you and you continuously blamed yourself. You would just turn into a really unhappy, miserable person. The best thing to do is maybe take some time off and then just think about it a bit, maybe talk to people who are genuinely your friends that you genuinely trust. Look at all of your notifications and your analytics and see that there are people who do genuinely like you and who think that you're trying your best, and remind yourself that there is positivity there. And yes, you do need to look at the negativity so that you just have that sort of balance and you can see yourself in the most accurate way. But sometimes it is okay just for a little bit to remind yourself of something in particular if you need to be motivated again. And looking at the way that Andy Warski kind of talked, I do think he needs that. Just because having that kind of encounter in person, it sucks. It does. Even if it's on the internet, I mean, someone could make a response to you and you might be thinking, oh, what's going on now? But they're not really talking to you. They're not actually talking to you face to face. If someone's talking to you face to face and they end up doing that, there is a difference. It's more personal. And as someone who has given up at one point and has been really bitter and just didn't want to do anything with anyone, that was one of the worst things ever. So I'm gonna end it with some random end notes that I think you might be interested in. So firstly, someone in the comments of the Anita video that I did asked me about doing a kind of series of videos where I just kind of talk about the stuff that, like I talked about before with me moving schools and stuff like that. And it's in the kind of style of Finite Atticus. If you don't know who he is, he does really amazing videos. It's kind of semi-poetic in a way, and he talks about things like how he became an atheist and all that sort of stuff. Basically kind of like that, and I think if people are interested in that, I could do that as well. I could pick a kind of topic or a memory and talk about what I learned from that. For instance, talk about the weird different people that I've met in the different schools that I've been to, talk about my time in a religious school, like I went to Catholic school once and it was not the best experience. And if all that sort of stuff sounds interesting, I could go ahead and start thinking about when I'm going to start making those. Also, another thing, some people like my recommendations of just random books or podcasts or stuff like that, and I figure every now and then I could kind of just end a video recommending that, because it might be interesting for someone who's looking for something. So today I'm going to recommend the No Sleep podcast. It's a podcast that I've been binging a lot. It's basically, they're a bunch of creepypasta narrators, but they have, since they're working together and they're doing a podcast, they have a lot of stuff to use. Like they have sound effects, they have different people to do different voices for different characters, and they have their own composer, so the music really flows well with the story. All the voice actors are fantastic. The host is a guy called David Cummings who has a really cool voice as well. It's really good because when you think creepypasta, you think those stupid crappy stories that 12-year-olds write, like Jeff the Killer and shit. But it's actually really good because they pick the good ones, or they get actual authors to join podcasts and write for them, so the stories are really good. And it's also just like a full production. It sounds professional. So even if the story is not that great, the professional production is just really awesome. I recommend listening to it with headphones because that's just the best, you get more immersed in it. And there's my recommendation for the day, so I hope you like that. Yeah, and if you have any weird experiences with people like we've discussed in the video, why don't you tell me in the comments?